All right, Chapter 5, Section 3. What we're looking at is ways in which to make sure we're making the most money when we produce stuff. And, this is the part where the class gets a little bit crazy. There's a lot of vocabulary, and, and some of this you just have to think through. It's not as scary as it looks. But again, this is so we understand the other side of the equation, how companies think, because we have the consumers and then we have the companies, the customers, the producers that make stuff. And so, all right, so let's look at it from a company's point of view. Um, when we look at when we produce stuff, we have to spend money. You got to spend money to make money. You've heard that before. It takes money to make money, and there's a lot of truth to that. You have to put an investment down. You don't just start. Nobody just hands you cash for doing nothing. You have to take a risk and put in some of your own money. And so before the first dollar is earned, many dollars have been spent, and that's the scary part of running a business, and that is why very few people will take that risk. It is a very difficult thing, but it's one of the best investments out there is running a business. Okay, so when you spend money, that's called a cost. Now you have to understand businesses, even when let's say there's work week, right? And then on Friday, bell rings, everybody goes home, right? Building sits empty on Saturday. Building sits empty on Sunday. In fact, maybe they're going to take the whole week off. Okay, building sits empty that whole time. Well, during that whole time, you're still, I mean, if you have salaried workers, you're still paying for them. You're still paying for the building and the equipment. If you've borrowed money to pay for those things, you're still having to make the payment for those things. Those are fixed costs, money that even when the business is totally like offline, you're still spending money. That's what we call fixed costs. Now, Monday morning, everybody comes back in and lights are flicked on and machines start going. People are start making money as each additional hourly worker comes in and clocks in. This hourly wages, right? Okay, and then we're going through more and more electricity. We're going through supplies. We're spending more money as we're producing. So the minute we start producing, we're increasing our variable costs. So fixed costs are the same, even when the company shut down. Variable is all of that. So when we add those two things together, that's where we get this idea of total cost, sum of fixed and variable costs, which is when you add those together. Okay. Now, in order to produce more of something, you have to put in more money. Okay, so maybe it's a little more electricity, maybe it's a little more supplies, but or we pay a worker to work a little overtime to produce some more. That's marginal cost. One more product equals a little bit more in cost, right? Now, sometimes if when we reach capacity, we cannot produce any more with the amount of workers. Well, we need to bring in more workers. Same thing with the equipment. Maybe we need a bigger building. And so sometimes we reach these break points where producing one more product is a huge expense because now we need to really upgrade. Okay, so what we do is we analyze the cost of one more unit of production, and that cost is called marginal cost. It's the cost of the next thing that you're going to produce. Okay, now when you sell more of something, whenever you sell your products, the money you get in your hand is called revenue. It's not your profit, it's just the money you got from selling the product. Okay, so when we add up all the money we've got from all of our products, then we get this concept of total revenue. Okay, now occasionally we may sell the same thing at different prices, so that's where we come up with an average. Okay, and that's how we can determine our total revenue. Marginal revenue is when we produce another product or we sell another product, how much more revenue am I making for that additional product? So that's revenue. One additional unit of output equals a certain amount of revenue. Okay, and that's marginal revenue is for the next one. A way to decide whether to produce more or less is by something called marginal analysis. And that's where we compare. Is this going to cost me more than I'm going to make out of this? If it's going to cost me more than I'm going to make, I'm not going to produce one more product. If it doesn't, if I make more money than it costs me to make, then I'm going to make another one. Okay, and so I'm going to keep doing that till there's a point where I hit profit maximization. And this idea is once marginal cost, MC, equals marginal revenue, right? That's when I'm making the most profit. Now, just a reminder, just because I don't have profit written on here, profit, again, if you have revenue, the money you make selling stuff, minus the costs, okay? If there's money left over, that's a profit. If there's no money left over and you're negative and you owe money to people, that's what we call a loss. Okay, revenue minus cost equals the profit or the amount of the loss. Companies that run a loss, usually companies have a cash balance, some money to save for when they run a loss. But eventually, if you run a loss long enough, you're going to run out of cash. You're going to run out of you have to go out of business. And that is the end of chapter 5, section 3.